Hello everyone, in this week's lecture we are going to cover about the global financial crisis and the Eurozone crisis. Let's have a look at the global financial crisis. The global financial crisis refers to the period of extreme stress in global financial markets and banking systems between mid-2007 and early 2009. During the global financial crisis, a downturn in the US housing market was a catalyst for a financial crisis that spread from the United States to the rest of the world through linkages in the global financial system. Many banks around the world incurred large losses and rely on government support to avoid bankruptcy. Millions of people lost their jobs as the major advanced economies experienced their deepest recessions since the Great Depression in the 1930s. Recovery from the crisis was also much slower than past recessions that were not associated with a financial crisis. So, what are the main causes of global financial crisis? As for all financial crises, a range of factors explain the global financial crisis and its severity. And people are still debating the relative importance of such factors. Some of the key aspects include excessive risk-taking in a favorable macroeconomic environment. In the years leading up to the global financial crisis, economic conditions in the United States and other countries were favorable. Economic growth was strong and stable, and rates of inflation, unemployment, and interest were relatively low. In this environment, house prices grew strongly. Expectations that house prices would continue to rise led households in the United States, especially to borrow imprudently to purchase and build houses. A similar expectation on house prices also led property developers and households in European countries such as Ireland, Iceland, Spain, and some countries in Eastern Europe to borrow excessively. Many of the mortgage loans, especially in the United States, were for amount close to or even above the purchase price of a house. A large share of such risky borrowing was done by investors seeking to make short-term profits by flipping houses and by subprime borrowers who have higher default risks, mainly because their income and wealth are relatively low or they have missed loan repayments in the past. Banks and other lenders were willing to make increasingly large volumes of risky loans for a range of reasons. First of all, competition increased between individual lenders to extend even larger amounts of housing loans that, because of the good economic environment, seemed to be very profitable at the time. Many lenders providing housing loans did not closely assess borrowers' abilities to make loan repayments. This also reflected the widespread presumption that favorable conditions would continue. Additionally, lenders had little incentive to take care in their lending decisions because they did not expect to bear any losses. The Eurozone debt crisis was the world's greatest threat in 2011. That's according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Things only got worse in 2012. The crisis started in 2009 when the world first realized Greece could default on its debt. In 3 years, it escalated into the potential for sovereign debt defaults from Portugal, Italy, Ireland, and Spain. The European Union, led by Germany and France, struggled to support these members. They initiated bailouts from the European Central Bank and the International Monetary Fund. So, how the Eurozone crisis affected you? If those countries had defaulted, it would have been worse than the 2008 financial crisis. The primary holders of sovereign debt would face huge losses. Smaller banks would have collapsed. In a panic, they would cut back on lending to each other. The LIBOR rate would skyrocket like it did in 2008. The ECB held a lot of sovereign debt. Default would have jeopardized its future. It threatened the survival of the European Union itself. Uncontrolled sovereign debt defaults could create a recession or even a global depression. It could have been worse than the 1998 sovereign debt crisis, when Russia defaulted. Other emerging markets countries did too. The International Monetary Fund stepped in. It was backed by the power of European countries and the United States. This time, it's not the emerging markets but developed markets that are in danger of default. Germany, France, and the United States, the major backers of the International Monetary Fund, are themselves highly indebted. there would be little political appetite to add to that debt to fund the massive bailouts needed. That's all for this week's pre-lecture review. Enjoy your lecture. Thank you.